In this lesson of the Nile Rodgers series, we're taking a look at the song Give Life Back to Music by Daft Punk. This is the first track off their album Random Access Memories, and there are some awesome guitar parts in it. There's quite a lot of layers, so I am going to be moving through them quite quickly, otherwise this video will just go on forever, but I have put together a little multi-layered demo so you can see how all the parts interact together and how they fit against a drum beat. Remember, you can use the links in the description below to view the full Nile Rodgers series, including the first lesson where I take you through a lot of his kind of techniques and theory and a lot of the chords that he uses in these songs, but you can also download all the chord diagrams from my Patreon page via the link in the description as well. Without further ado, let's get started. So let's start with the chords for the intro. I'm starting by hitting the open E string, followed by a G power chord and an A power chord. And I'm using power chords for all of these just to kind of follow the bass movement. So that is we're then moving back to the G, up to a D power chord, and ending on an F. So we've got then we start again with a little run from the E. And it's important to know that all of these chords are pushed. So with the counting, that would be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 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 1, 2, 3, 4. Now for the lead part of the intro, this is that part over the top. What we're doing here is we're starting with an A octave rooted on the 7th fret of the D string, and then with little finger on 10th fret of the B string. So here are your two notes. And everything else is muted. And the strumming pattern is 2 fretted strums followed by 1 muted one. So it's a repeating 3-note sequence. So it's going to go fret, fret, mute, fret, fret, mute. And because it's a 3-note sequence, it flips the strumming direction every time. So we've got down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So you got to practice this one slowly at first. And that would be 1 bar. There's a slightly bigger gap at the end of each bar, just so it matches up to the right number of beats. But if you put it all together, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. And that just sits on top of those chord movements we looked at before. Now we'll take a look at the chords for the kind of main riff and verse parts of the song. It's important to note that the guitar doesn't actually play these chords, it's more synth pads and things like that. But I'm going to use like the open chords, or not power chords anyway, because I think hearing the major and minor is important on this part. So we're starting with F. then we're using an E minor to pass into an A minor, so just a little. So far we've got F, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, E minor to A minor. Then we do the same thing with the E minor to get back to the F. And that's kind of how it moves between the chords in this part of the song. So we've got F, E minor to A minor, then E minor back to F. Then we do exactly the same, but this time we throw in a G on the last bar, followed by another little E minor to get us back into the F. And that's how we start the whole progression again. So the progression in full from the start would be 1, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, E minor, A minor, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, E minor, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, E minor, A minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, E minor, F, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the full progression that repeats. It's really important that you get the G only on every second time because the riff, like played as the melody, follows them chord changes as well. So it's important that it all syncs up nicely. Into the main riff of the song now. This is that really cool kind of palm muted part. What we've got here is two harmonies going on. We've got a higher one and a lower one. We're going to start with the higher one. I'm not going to go over exactly what the picking is because I don't think you have to do it the same way every time. I probably change when I do it a little bit, but it is quite important that you put some alternate picking in. It would be kind of impossible and not have very good feel to try and do this as all down picks. So make sure you have a nice mix of up and down picks with whatever feels nice to you. So we'll start with the melody and then I'll have a talk about some of the like the muted notes in between the main notes. So the main melody sounds like this. So that is 5th fret on G, first finger, 3rd finger playing 7 on D, then we've got 5 on D, back to 7 on D, then a quick 5, 7 on D. So that was. And that's kind of the main theme of the part, but you need to get these little clicks, like muted strings in between each note to get it really sounding spot on. Bit of palm muting in the right hand as well, just to give it that percussive quality. So we're putting little muted notes in between the first few notes that you hear. But then the 5, 7 at the end, you don't get a muted note in between because they're so close. So it should sound like. And then the second bar is exactly the same. Apart from we don't have the 2 notes at the end. So we just stop on that 7 and leave a little rest at the end of the bar. So the first 2 bars. Okay, and then we start again, similar sort of thing. But this time, we have this little riff at the end of the second bar. So we're starting normally with the 5, 7. And then we're doing a little slide up to the 9th fret on the G, straight back to the 5th fret on the G, and then a little run, going 7, 5 on G, 7, 5 on D. So that's. So slide up to 9, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5. So that whole part. So that's the part that fits over the F and the A minor chords. When the G chord comes in at the end of every second cycle, the melody changes ever so slightly. It sounds like this. So we've just got one little swap in there. So the first bar is kind of the same. But then we're moving down to the 4th fret on the G, and then the 5th fret on the D, which I'm using 1st and 2nd finger for to play them notes. And then the little slide to 9, and then the little riff at the end is exactly the same. So that's the end of the second half of the phrase. So So that's why it's important you get that G chord in the right place, because the little movement in the melody follows the chords as well. So the whole thing sounds like this. And then that whole phrase repeats, and that's how you get your main riff. So let's take a look at the low harmony now. Obviously, once you've got all these parts down, it would be a really good exercise to try and play them along on a looper pedal, try and get them all synced up, especially with the chord movements and where the harmonies change to follow the chords. That would be really good practice. So for this low harmony, obviously the rhythm is exactly the same, even like the muted clicks in between. It's just the pitch that changes to harmonize with that part that we learned before. So this time we're focusing on the D and A strings. We're going to start on the 7th fret of the D, down to 8 on A, 7 on A, and then back to 8 on A, and then we've got the little, which is also 7 to 8 on the A string. Exactly the same rhythm, so. Or with the little clicks in. By the way, to get these clicks, all I'm doing is lifting my fingers up in my left hand ever so slightly. So for example, on this 7th fret note, rather than pressing down and getting the note, I'm just resting on the string and I get a little clicky sound. So in your left hand, you want to be focusing on only pressing the fingers down when you actually want to hear a note. Don't leave any frets actually pressed into the neck. Now you can play this part either with your middle 2 fingers, like this, or you can use fingers 1 and 2. Just go with whatever is most comfortable. But for the next part, it is better to lead with the 3rd finger, because we're going to play. So just moving down slightly, this is 3rd finger playing 7th fret D, then on to 7th fret A, 1st finger playing 5th fret A, back to 7th fret A, and then the little fast notes at the end are 5th fret, 7th fret A. So that happens on the 3rd bar. So in this part we've got then move, and then the ending of this one we're going to play 7th fret D, 7th fret A, and we're going to do the little slide again, but this time it's up to the 10th fret, and then back down to the 5th fret, and then we've got the same little run, so we're going 7, 5 on the D, and then 8, 7 on the A. So one more time, so slide up to 10, 5, 7, 5, 8, 7 on A at the end there. So the whole part for this lower harmony. And then like before, we've got one little change when that G chord comes in. All that's going to change is the last bar. Rather than playing 7 then 7, we're going to be playing 5 on the D string, then 7 on the A string, then doing the little slide up to 10 and finishing as you did before. So the second half of the lower harmony would sound like this. It's only a small change, but they're the important things when you're writing harmonies. Otherwise you get this odd note that doesn't quite fit the progression. So pretty intricate, but just have a playthrough, make sure everything's syncing up and have fun with it. Finally, to conclude this kind of verse riff part of the song, we've got a little guitar overdub which sounds like this. Pretty nice little part. This comes in just before the lyrics start. What we're doing here is we're sliding up to 14th fret with 2nd finger on G string. Then we're going to play 13th fret with 1st finger on B, just a staccato note. Then back to the 14th fret G. So that's. Then for the next part, you need to prepare by barring 12th fret with 1st finger. But the first note we're going to play is actually little finger, playing the 15th fret. Pick that one and pull it off. then pick G string, then D string, and hammer third finger down on 14th fret D. So that's... It's quite hard to get that little finger pull off without actually playing it in full sequence. So kind of flows better as one full thing. But that's how you play that little nice overdub part. Into the main chord progression of the song now, and this is going to feel a lot more like some of the material that we did earlier on in the Nile Rodgers series, with kind of the 7th bar chords and the percussive 16th note strumming. So what we've got in this one, all of these chords are rooted on the A string, starting with an A minor 7 rooted on the 12th fret, nice and high, followed by a G major, F major 7, and D minor 7. So a nice little descending phrase there. And to get that strumming pattern, I'm going fretted down on the A minor 7, followed by muted down up. So, and repeat that. Followed by down, up, fretted. So far that is. Then finishing the bar with down, up, muted, down, up, fretted. Okay, so. So 1 and a 2 and a 3E and a 4E and a. Then we move down to the G. We're starting with 2 muted strums, which is kind of your leeway to get the chord into place. And then 2 staccato down strums. And then 2 muted strums down up. So that's. And then the ending of that bar is very similar. We've got the 4 fretted strums in a row. And this time we're going to go down, up, muted. And then just 1 fretted strum. And then I would make the up strum at the end muted, because that just gives you a little chance to get the next chord in place. So that bar was. And if we put those 2 bars together, the likelihood is that when you're actually in the groove and strumming through all of these chords, you're going to change it up a little bit, and probably there's a few variations in the song as well. So don't worry about it being absolutely perfect the way that I'm teaching it, just make sure it's got the right groove and make it fit the song. The rhythm for the next 2 chords is exactly the same, so the rhythm that we had on the A minor 7 gets transferred to the F major 7. And then the rhythm that we had on the G is what we play on the D minor 7. And then we start again from that A minor 7. So the whole thing. And that's the main chord progression of the song. Next, we're going to look at the little single note line that goes over that main progression. I should have mentioned earlier actually that the single note parts with all the palm muting were not actually played by Nile Rodgers. They were played by another session musician called Paul Jackson Jr. And there's a really cool video of him on YouTube explaining how he wrote all of these parts and kind of playing along to the tracks. So definitely worth checking that out. So for this main progression, the part sounds like this. And it just repeats like that. Again, I'm not going to go into crazy detail on the rhythm, because I think if you've got the rhythm of the chord progression, you can pretty much apply it to this part as well. So remember, the chord progression was. And then this part is. So they've got exactly the same accents anyway, so I'm going to talk about the rhythm a little bit, but not kind of every single note. So we're starting with third finger playing the 7th fret D, and we're going to do the 2 muted notes following it each time again, so... Then we just keep them muted notes going and catch it on one of the up strums later on. So down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up. And then at the end of the bar we've got a little chromatic run, so we're going 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret. Following this, we're going to jump the first finger to play the 4th fret on the G string, back to 7th fret, then 5th fret on D. So that's... After this, we're moving third finger to the A string, playing 7th fret, then back to first finger playing 5th fret on the D string, couple of muted picks, and then that chromatic run again, 5, 6, 7. So we've got... And that's the main part of this riff. The next 2 bars are very similar with a couple of notes different, so the first bar is actually exactly the same. But this time we're doing the chromatic run, grabbing 5th fret on the G instead of 4th fret, then 7, 5 as usual, but this time when we go down to the A string we're going 5th fret, 3rd fret. Probably want to play both of them with your first finger. A couple of muted picks and then back to 5, 6, 7 chromatic run on D to start the whole thing again. So that second half is... And that's the whole thing. So if I play it through in full a couple of times, you'll get... And that part just fits nicely over the main chord progression. And the final section that we've got to look at in this song is the bridge. This is a little bit hidden in the song. It doesn't come in until 3 minutes 15 and kind of sounds a bit similar to other sections, but it is a different chord pattern and there's a little kind of staccato lead thing going on as well. So the chords for the bridge, we're starting with a D minor 7, then moving to a G7, then C major 7, A minor 7, that would be the first half, and then for the second half, D minor 7 to G7 again, but this time it's A minor 7 and then just a normal G. And again, this is mainly following the bass movement. You don't really hear a guitar specifically playing these chords in the song, but just if you want something to kind of strum along with or create a loop with to practice the lead part, those would be the chords that you'd have to play. It might also be worth knowing which ones come in on pushes and which ones are on the bar. Strangely, in this section, it's normally like a kind of variation between the 2 chords where the first one is pushed, then the second one is on the bar, then pushed on the bar, pushed on the bar. A lot of the time in songs, it's the second chord that's pushed. So you'll have on the bar, pushed, on the bar, pushed. This one is the other way around. It's pushed on the bar, pushed on the bar. It's kind of difficult to explain, but basically if I count through it, you've got this 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's how it repeats. So again, like the chords changing in the verse and the main riff, It's important that you get these changes synced up with the lead part, because some of the little stabby bits accent the pushes as well. So if you get them kind of offset, you won't get that kind of clinical sound where everything in the band feels nice and synchronized. So this is the kind of lead staccato part that you get over the top of them chords. This is going to probably sound pretty strange when I play it on its own. It sort of needs the chords in the background to kind of justify what's going on, but it would sound like this. Yeah, so pretty strange sounding on its own. Probably worth going and watching the kind of little loop that I did at the start of the video to get a reference point of how this is supposed to sound. It might be worth doing that with every section. In fact, there's so many layers in this song that hearing them all together kind of makes the song sort of come to life, and you can hear how all the different bits interact and work together. So what we're doing here is we're only playing the G and B strings, but I'm using my first finger to rest on most of the other strings. So it looks like I'm playing like a big bar chord or something, but I'm not really. My first and second finger are just resting on the strings. And then these two fingers are the ones that are pressing the frets down. So we're starting with third finger playing 5th fret on G and little finger playing 6th fret on B. And we're just staccato down strums on the beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, then we have down, up. Okay, so we've got. Then we get that pushed C major 7 chord. When that comes in, we just move everything back a fret, then follow up with the same rhythm. So far we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. When the A minor 7 comes in, we're just playing the 2 notes on the 5th fret. And we've got that same little down, 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 up rhythm. So far we've got. We're then starting again, but we've got a slightly different ending. So we're starting with the 5 and 6 for the D minor 7. But this time the A minor 7 comes in, so we follow that chord by playing the same notes that we played over the last A minor 7, which was the 2 5th fret notes. Then over the G at the end, it's the 4th fret and 5th fret, which is the same as what we played over the C major 7 earlier on. So it's kind of just swapping those two chords around. Then we move the whole thing back up a fret to start again on the D minor 7. So the whole thing through would be. And that just loops over the top of them chords that we looked at before. As I said, there's not really too like specific guitar parts going on in this section. It's mainly mixed in with a little bit of like synth and a little bit of crowd noise and stuff like that. So it's hidden in the background a little bit, the guitar, but that's the kind of thing that I would play. Feel free to improvise with the rhythms and add a little bit more stuff. And that is all the sections of the song. So you've just got to go through and listen to the song a bunch of times, and maybe write down what order the sections are in, because it's a little bit intricate, like the intro comes back in halfway through and things like that. So you just got to kind of get into the groove and know what's coming next and prepare for it, and then make sure you've got all the parts down. Super fun to jam along this one. It's kind of quick, some of the parts, you know, if you think about that intro. You know, it's quite a fast tempo to get that right. So it might take a lot of practice, but really satisfying when you get it all down. Hopefully you've enjoyed taking a look at that one. There's loads of cool stuff to get stuck into on this track, especially if you're practicing with a looper pedal. Remember, you can download all the chord diagrams via my Patreon page and access the full Nile Rodgers playlist via the link in the description. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content and find it helpful. In the next lessons, we're going to be taking a look at some more Daft Punk tunes, so I'll see you there.